Want to be successful in social media marketing? We'll show you how. If you're not utilising social media to market your properties, agent or office, you're missing out on valuable leads from a massive target audience. With over 17 million Australians using Facebook every day, it makes sense to advertise where people are spending most of their time and maximise exposure. With Printforce Social Lab, we list and promote your properties for sale inside of Facebook, Google ad displays, among other social media platforms to ensure they get the best possible marketing reach. By unlocking the power of Facebook's behaviour-based targeting, Printforce Social Listings technology is able to deliver your properties to the most relevant people in the market, whether that's a first home buyer, an investor, or potential vendor. But the benefits don't stop there. A target audience is selected based on Facebook data and your own audience parameters. Potential buyers can easily like, share, browse property details, and register for your open home, all within their preferred online space, Facebook. At the same time, you'll get comprehensive reporting to show your vendors exactly how well their property is performing. With Printforce Social Lab, our goal is to get the best possible price for your properties. We do this reaching interested buyers at the right time through a medium they use every day. It's fast to get listed and there's no setup required. So whether you want a sophisticated digital marketing campaign to refresh your brand or want to promote your vendors' properties, we have tailored packages to suit your needs. It all starts with being social. Contact us today.
Hello and welcome to Property News Update, where we bring you up to date on not necessarily the very latest stories, but just stories that are of some interest to people who are interested in property. And let's face it, that is nearly everyone. And today we're going to be talking about, could it be a crocodile? Wow. And 7 retro throwbacks. We can take you back in time and talk about some of the fashion designs you may have even chosen to forget about. Queensland does it again. A rent to buy might not look as good as it sounds. And Hugh Hefner, would you have had him if he was still alive as a roommate? Interesting story. Back with Michelle Delaney from Better Homes and Gardens in just one moment.
Did you know you can save up to 70% on your staff costs by outsourcing the low-value, repeatable tasks so your team can focus on growing your business? Beepo is an outsourcing provider focused on the real estate industry. With an English-speaking, tertiary qualified and fully trained team in the Philippines, Beepo will give your business the boost it needs to start growing and returning value to you. For more information, visit beepo.com.au.
Michelle Delaney from Better Homes and Gardens joins me as my co-host this week. Hello, Michelle.
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Last time you and I spoke, we were in a wonderful park down at Woody Point, which is not far from our studio. But
Yes, we were. It was a beautiful day. The sun was shining and a little bit windy, but yeah, we're indoors today.
We are indoors, yes. I think we've got you in HO, haven't we? Head office?
Yeah, yes, I am in head office, so Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate Head Office, which I just take a moment to tell you some exciting things that have been happening. So
excellent.
Obviously my role as CEO is national, and we have our offices in New South Wales. So we have the Ponds, we have Crow's Nest, New South Wales. Bella Vista will be opening very shortly. We have the office in Richmond, Victoria, and I can't tell you where yet, Kevin, but watch this space, and I'm about to announce in the next probably few weeks, I would say, our very first Queensland office. So
wonderful.
We're doing really
what
well.
We've got to do. We talked to James Bell, who I know works with you, and James is a good friend of ours, and it would be fantastic for us to do a live broadcast from there when you actually announce it. So let's commit to that. I think that's a great idea.
Absolutely, you're on, Kevin.
Because I think I know where it is, and if it is, it's one of my favourite spots. So anyway, we won't give too much away. And look forward to hearing the news, Michelle. That's wonderful. Congratulations on the work you're doing with Better Homes and Gardens too, because it's a very established brand in the States, and Charles Tarby and his team have brought that out to Australia, and we're very proud to be working with them. Hey, let's get into our first story. Could it be a crocodile? I love this story. It comes from realestate.com.au. We're going to throw up some photographs here. It's a home for sale in Northern Territory, and as the agent says, it comes with everything you'd ever want. But hey, Michelle, I don't know that I'd necessarily want that big crocodile. There are two of them for sale.
Yeah, there are. And interestingly, when I was reading this story, Kevin, I'm pretty sure it said there was a male and a female crocodile.
You're exactly right.
The first thing that popped into my head was you may well buy this beautiful property, which does look lovely, and you may well inherit the two crocodiles, but what's going to happen when all the babies come along? So I'm not quite sure. Look, my family, my partner's family actually live in the Northern Territory. It's a beautiful place. It gets a bit hot, but it's beautiful. And this property looked great, but yeah, I'm not sure I want to inherit the crocodiles and the babies that could potentially come with it.
I've been to the Northern Territory a couple of times, and you're right, it is very hot, very humid, but aren't those sunsets absolutely spectacular? It's the only place where I've ever seen the sun set down into the ocean. Just magnificent.
Beautiful. Just beautiful.
Okay, yeah, and you're right. There are two crocodiles there, a male and a female. I guess the upside to this would be handbags, maybe? Because...
I hadn't actually thought about that.
Yeah, well, they're actually worth quite a lot of money for, and there is a waiting list for crocodile skins to manufacture. Wow. So, yeah.
Wow. I don't know. I'm a bit, I'm a country girl, and the pets on the farm I'd probably get attached to the crocodiles, Kevin, and I just then couldn't think about doing anything like that. But I did like the photos. I thought the property was really well presented, online. I thought it looked great, and I think the crocodile was the little. It wanted me to read more about the property, I think. So that was a great line for them to add into it.
I think so. Absolutely. Okay, reminder that Real Estate Talk is out tomorrow. When buying the building makes sense is the nice little commercial story. A developer's view on the apartment market. A lot of press already, and even some reports earlier this week on the ABC about the dire situation with building. So we're going to take a developer's view of what the market is like, particularly the apartment market. The Journey to Soul, I'm going to talk to Jeff Grist, who's written a new book. It's called that, The Journey to Soul. Jeff is, of course, a very well-known real estate agent, and he joins me to talk about that. Green walls, the pros and cons. Interesting how they're doing a lot of this green wall right now too, Michelle. And check beyond the apartment walls, another story, because we're really concerned about what's happening with the market, and particularly buyer nervousness around buying apartments. We give you some really good hints, not suggesting that you shouldn't buy them, but if you are going to, how you can make sure that you safeguard and protect yourself. So trying to be very responsible about it. Okay, Michelle, let's move on to our next story. This one comes from Zillow. Particularly wanted to use this. We're going to use some photos here too as we go through each of the 7 trends. They're saying that 2020, the vibe is going to include organic details paired with the sparkle of the 70s disco and a velvety softness of the 80s. What a horrible mixture. But let's bring up the first one, a photograph here of cork and recycled elements. Your view on this, Michelle?
Well, I think it's interesting. I'm a very big fan of recycling, and I think if we think back to, I know I grew up in the 70s and 80s without giving too much away, but were we in our time where disposable things. So now we're really focused. It's come full circle, and it's turning. So I was quite impressed with the whole focus on the recycling of things. So at cork, well, I can remember back in the old days, cork shoes, Kevin, those platform shoes
I do remember those
heels.
Yeah, hey, we've got a bit of cork in our house, and it's actually in the kitchen. And Carolyn uses it as little places to put hot plates on. So, I mean, corks are really quite nice. I just don't know how it fits into furniture. Hey, the next one, floral patterns. You could really go overboard with this one, couldn't you?
Oh, absolutely, you could. And I think personally, you've got to be very careful with your floral patterns and how that works, because
Yeah.
you can actually go way too far. But I think having a little bit of floral in your life is
Yeah.
lovely. But yeah, if you were to push it over the limit, I think it would really drag you back into that hippies, the hippies.
Nothing wrong with that, let me tell you. Nothing wrong with
I
the
thought
hippie
that
era.
I thought you might like that.
Oh yeah, I love that. In fact, you talk about growing up in the 70s and 80s. I think, by that stage we had kids and, it was all over for us. But it's more the 60s for me. That was the time. That was the really good time. And this photo about florals, you can see it on the curtains there. It's really quite bright. Hey, handmade accents. This is interesting. This photograph features, it looks like an old tree stump with a glass thing on top of it, glass tabletop.
Yes, yeah, it's the use of wood. As I mentioned before, I'm a country girl born very far west of the Blue Mountains in New South Wales, and we had a gentleman who used to do a lot of the using the tree stumps for tables, and I think my sister's still got the most beautiful outdoor setting that was made out of some local red gum that was there. Yeah. So I just think it's lovely to see these sorts of things, and the handmade craft of a person who has the talent to do that is just. But I love that sort of stuff.
Yeah, next one is plastic and acrylics. Just a photograph here for you. Good use of plastics. I think, now with being able to recycle a lot of these things, it's quite good. I wanted to move to the digitally printed fabrics. Interesting. This our daughter does this, and she does it extremely well too. But I think it's quite nice. It looks very artistic.
It does, and it's I think the precision, because it's done digitally now, and let's face it, technology has certainly enhanced a lot of areas. It's certainly enhanced real estate, but I think the way that it's done now is it has a really clean sort of line about it. Remember the old tie dyeing in the old days?
Oh yeah, it's still going. I went to a markets the other day, and they were featuring tie dyed. In fact, I think down on the peninsula, there's a place that does it around Sandgate. I think from memory, they've got a sign out the front for tie dyeing. So
wow. It's interesting, isn't it? But I did mean to ask you when you brought up the velvet. Did you have a velvet suit, Kevin?
No, I didn't have a velvet suit. I had red flares and platform red shoes.
Now that I'd pay to see. Maybe we could go through the archives and find a photo of that one day.
Yeah, in my early radio days, and we used to drive around in a little VW that had, would you believe it or not, this is in North Queensland where it's really, really hot, and the VW was actually lined inside all the way, the roof, the floors, the whole lot with carpet, all the doors, and it was so hot. And you could imagine one of those old Beetle VWs, there's no air conditioning, you just wind the window down. Wow. And I used to get around in platform red shoes, red flared pants, and I think, wait for it, a safari suit.
Oh, now that we have.
How trendy is that?
That's very trendy. Waiting for its time.
I'll see if I can find a photograph and I'll let you have a look at it. Hey, the last one, metallic accents. Let's just throw up this photo. Yeah, I think I quite like some of these. This is quite a nice modern photo. The metallic, I gather, is the lampshade. Yes,
and I think metal brings a real striking to a property. I think that, and the use of the way they use the metallics. So I really like this. I love the look of this, and it does take you back a little bit when you're looking at it. I do think back to the older days with the lamps, and this has really brought it home in that metallic finish.
Absolutely,
so I love it.
Okay, on to story number 3. This one comes from the Daily Mail. Queensland does it again. It reminds me of the old Joe days. We go way back and we sort of do things that no other part of the world does. And in this case, a young mum trying to raffle her $1.52 million home and business is forced to stop the competition in Queensland. Only other states you can still buy raffle. And look, Michelle, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I'm sitting on the side of that this is a right thing. It's more about the decision not to allow her to sell tickets in Queensland. It's a Queensland property. And, I think well, you tell me your thoughts. Too much from me.
I think I had a couple of thoughts on this. Reading through the article, she actually had done her homework. So, the story says that she had actually contacted the regulatory authorities and, they had given her the go-ahead on this. But, again, it just came down to that fine, that language or the fine print, I guess is the word I'm looking for, the fine print in it. So they stopped her doing it. I mean, it was her home. She chose to sell it the way she wanted to sell it. And, then to get it stopped with one little fine print.
I think the difficulty came about where the prize may not be the prize if she didn't sell all the tickets. However, she did have an alternate prize, and that is that she would give away 50% of the gross sales. So there was going to be something in it for someone. But I can see both sides of this, and I think she was trying to do the right thing. She was quite open about how it was all going to work. There was nothing. It's not as if she was trying to rip anyone off. So, a bit disappointing. But she's still going to go ahead with it. She had to extend the drawing date. And I think it's in a couple of weeks' time. So, we might hear how that turns out.
It'd be good for you to let our viewers know just on what the outcome of that's going to be. It's an interesting way, but good on her for having a go at something.
I reckon so too. Yeah, good on you. Hey, we're going to take a short break. Back in just a moment. I want to tell you about a story that we've got on our website now about rent to buy. Back with Michelle Delaney from Better Homes and Gardens in just one moment.
Your business card is a vital selling tool and a constant visual reminder of who you are, what you do, and more importantly, how you can be contacted. Introducing our new Velvet business cards, featuring a luxurious premium laminate that has a velvet texture and is soft to the touch. Printed on a resilient 450 GSM card, these cards can be printed with a range of spot gloss and foiling options to give your office that prestigious look.
Welcome back to the show. This is a result of an interview that I did on a Canberra radio station last weekend, Michelle. They asked me to look into rent to buy schemes, so we did a bit of research, wrote the article. It's up on Property TV now. There's a link below to take you to that. But it is something that you've got to be wary of. I'm not saying for a moment that you shouldn't do it. Just be very careful about who the seller of the property is if you rent to buy. What's your understanding of that, Michelle?
I actually have, I've seen a few cases of this, Kevin, and I think you've got to think about the buyer beware, the old caveat emptor. If you're going to enter into, any contract of this nature, you need to make sure that the legal impacts have been looked into first, because it has so many different connotations. The laws around renting across Australia, as you know, are different in every state. So if there was something in there in regards to, if you didn't meet your rental payment, then you can't continue. Well, under the laws, the rental laws across the country, it actually says that you have to give anyone who is in a renting position a right to remedy. So could you and I go to court and argue that we weren't given that right to remedy? So I think, I think it's a great idea if it's done properly, because it will help people get into the market. But please, if you're going to go down that rent to buy path, you need to absolutely cross your T's and dot your I's. I don't want to see anyone get caught up in a bad scheme that, somebody might put forward and people lose a lot of money.
As I pointed out in the article, I think that, you've got to be careful who the seller is, because there could be scams around this. And the other point is that there are two parts to it's a two-part contract. One is the rental part, the other part is the sell part. And you're paying above rent, above market rent, and that money should go towards the purchase of the property. But if you default in any way on your contract to purchase, you could lose all that money. So, a number of things to be careful of. I did mention in there about the Canberra scheme, which I think is quite good, which you go down to the bottom and read about that. I think if you live in Canberra, that's a good alternative for you because you really only have to raise funds to buy the house. But anyway, check the article out. There's a link below to take you to the site. Hey, Michelle, to our last story. This one comes from, well, this is not a current story, as we know, because Hugh Hefner is no longer alive. But when he was alive, the mansion, it's been heritage protected, so therefore it can't be changed. But he had the rights to live in it until he died, which I think you reminded me was around sometime in 2017. Is that right?
Yeah, 27th of September 2017. So nearly 2 years ago. 2 years ago next week.
Yeah. So, probably fitting that we talk about it now, but he had the right to live in it till he died. And there was a purchase. This story relates to a purchase that fell over because the purchaser, who actually incidentally lives next door, wanted to renovate the property, but they wouldn't allow him to do that while Hugh Hefner was alive because it might disturb him. So, difficult. Interesting story, though. What an interesting man.
Absolutely. And I think because the purchaser at the time, that was the guy that owns Hostess Brands, wasn't it?
Yep,
now
that's right.
They make those Twinkies and cupcakes. So, but he's quite a wealthy man. But it was very interesting just to read that it fell over because of the whole heritage thing. It'd actually be interesting, Kevin, if we researched it now just to see whether what's going to happen now that since Hugh Hefner died. So and is probably without being too macabre, but it said that he could stay on the property until he passed away. Is he buried at the property? Is he?
I don't know, but I tell you what, you're the person with the contacts. You've got a great network in the States. Why don't I give you the mission of finding that out, and you can let us know next time we catch up?
Done.
All right. So you reach all your Better Homes and Gardens people in the States.
Yes.
And let us know what you find out. Hey, all the best, Michelle. Thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on the work that you're doing with Better Homes and Gardens. A great brand. And of course, we see it on television all the time as well. But it's nice to have you on Property TV. You're welcome anytime you want to come.
I'd love to come back, Kevin, and I'll definitely research that story for you. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to catching up with you very soon.
Yeah, and don't forget that other commitment either, that we're going to be broadcasting live from your office when you announce it in Queensland.
As soon as I can, you will be the very first to know, Kevin.
Beautiful. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. And a reminder once again that Real Estate Talk is out tomorrow, and a little bit later today, Kevin Brogan will join me as we look at what the auction activity is coming up this weekend, all here at propertytv.io. I'm Kevin Turner, and I'll see you next time.